So, hello everybody. Welcome back to this show, Moments with Masters, and we have a very special guest from Miami, Florida today. And let me give you a brief picture of who she is and some of her clients and their friends say she's a mentor, some say she's a consultant, and some call her a coach. And having benefited from her own breakthroughs and life-changing realizations through coaching, she is now devoted to doing the same thing for her clients. And she works with both men and women who feel stuck. And in this next 60 minutes of conversation, probably we are going to discover a lot about what she has worked with and what makes her who she is today. So please welcome with me my guest today, our guest today, Sarra Adnani. Hello, Sarra. Welcome to Moments with
Hi,
Masters. I am super
I'm so
excited.
happy.
I'm super excited, Sarah, to be with you on the show. And we are fortunate today because of technology that we are talking. And we are fortunate that we have you on our show today. So thank you very much for joining us from Florida. And yes, my first question to you, Sarah, and this is my questions are not to dig for that unknown, but my questions are going to be very simple to understand what makes Sarah who she is. That should be the first question I would want you to answer.
What makes Sarah who she is? Um, I am I am everybody and nobody. I am all of us combined, and I am everyone's mirror, and everyone is my mirror. I've had a very interesting and beautiful journey to get me to where I am today. A combination of unique experiences, situations, challenges, and opportunities. Um, I was born and raised in Morocco to a family of 10 kids. I'm the youngest of 10 kids. Um, I've lived in the States for the past 20 years. I've traveled all around the world. I spent 6 months in Asia meditating with monks and traveling from temple to temple. I have discovered and uncovered so many layers of what makes me me in terms of my connection to God or the spirit or the universe or whatever you want to call it, and also in terms of my practicality in this world and what I do with my physical body to be me and to help others. So who I am is a combination of a lot of things.
Fantastic,
Um,
Sarah. Sarah, how young were you or how old were you when you actually found or discovered that I need to be more of who I am, or I need to do something about myself? What was that something that that made you realize?
I've had very interesting experiences since I was a child, but I pushed them away. Since I was 4 or 5 years old, I've had really interesting experiences asking myself what's going on here. The major wake up call for me was when I was 28 years old. I was living in LA at the time, and I was in market research working in the corporate world. And then I got sick. I had bronchitis and I lost my voice. I couldn't speak anymore. And the cough and all of that went away eventually. My voice didn't come back. So it took, all in all, it took about a year for me to speak again. So I lost my voice for about a year. Now, during that period when I couldn't speak, it didn't really stop me, but it got to a point where I really had to pause. I'm someone who's also all about, working and going and action and doing things. And I was 28 years old. I was living the life in LA, had a good title, had a good salary, had a good house, had a good car, had a good social life, had everything, you know, however you define success, from that standpoint, I was successful. And I couldn't speak anymore. Still, I switched jobs from a corporate to another one. I got another job without being able to speak, try to deal with it. And then I think about 3 months into it, someone finally told me, "Hey, I think you have nodules on your vocal cords. You should really check that out." Because I had seen doctors and they had told me, "Oh, there's nothing you can do about your vocal cords. Your voice will come back. Your voice will come back. Your voice will come back." So I was just like sitting there waiting. Months went by, nothing happened, and then finally I went to this ENT, and he was like, "Oh wow, you have major cysts on your vocal cord. You're not going to be able to speak anytime soon." So that's when it finally hit me that I really had something I had to deal with. So I had to go through speech therapy, I had to go through surgery. So during that period, and imagine you can't speak, and you imagine how loud the world is, and you're in a city such as LA where it's really vibrant. So everyone is speaking at you, there's nothing you can say or respond. You know, my career kind of like stopped there because I couldn't do what I was doing anymore. After surgery, I was told that it was going to take at least 6 months because the surgery was more complicated than they thought once they went in. And so that's when it finally hit me. I was sitting in Runyon Canyon in meditation. And, I really hit rock bottom, and I asked God, I was like, "God, just tell me what to do. It's been 6 months. I can't speak. This is really, really difficult for me." I went into a depression. That's when God said, "Monks don't speak. Why don't you go hang out with them?" And so I went to Asia, and my first country was South Korea. That's where I hung out at a temple there. And in that meditation and through those monks and through that energy and in that safe space, it finally hit me, who am I? I had what we can call an existential crisis. Who am I? What am I doing? What's going on? Because at this point, up until here, my identity is attached to all these things, right? My work, my salary, my car, my house, my social life, all these things. I never really paused or had the opportunity to pause until that point and ask myself, who am I really without any of these things? What am I doing here? What's going on without being the daughter of so-and-so, the sister of so-and-so? Who am I? Me. And that was a major, spiritually, we call that the ego death, if you want. But that was a major breaking point for me.
Sarah, you were very young when you went through this phase of uh, transformation, and probably this dive was not that easy when you went through that phase. I had a similar phase when I was very young, and I remember, I think it was 1997 or 1998. I went through a very tough phase, and I turned a monk. I turned a monk in Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda's mission, and I went through that spiritual phase of inner revolution, or what you call rejuvenation, and then I had my own transformation uh, through that spiritual phase of life. Now, when people say I went through a painful period, and probably I understand that each pain transforms you in a certain way, and it is a teacher, it is a lesson that you learn. But there are two different ways. One is a phase when you keep looking for sources outside, and there is a phase when you start looking within, and you start looking at your own resourcefulness, your own connection to, you start listening to that voice of spirit. And when today you are being the most powerful voice, and how long did it take, and who all were there, who really inspired you or coached you or helped you in certain way for you to take on that journey?
So you mean who inspired me to finally look within and find my own voice and stop
Yeah,
looking
who,
outside of
how,
me?
I understand sometimes we don't have anybody except that inner voice to listen to. But at some points we have people from outside that we look up to, and you said there were many people who helped you probably on this journey.
Yeah.
So I would want to listen about them as well. How did you
Mm.
approach them? What happened in this? How many people did you meet? Your journey, and what magnificent people you might have met in your life, and who really helped you see within, look within.
So there are a lot of people that helped me. There are a lot of people that have guided me. And what's interesting is, every time there is a specific teacher for each period. Um, when my first teacher, when I had that breakthrough in Korea, was Big Wave Master. Uh, he is part of that temple that I was staying at in South Korea. He's pretty big. He travels a lot and kind of leads Buddhism in Korea, China, and Japan. He's helped me a lot because that was the first time that happened, and I couldn't speak, and he related to me right away, and I related to him right away because he said, I lose my voice a lot as well. And so he got up and he brought me this little packet of Himalayan salts and said, just use this at night and it should help you with your vocal cords. And then he said, just sit with whatever's going to come up for you. You're going to go on a journey. Through him is when I learned to sit in silence for a lot longer. So now, prior to coming to Asia, I used to meditate already, but not the same way it's done there. Like I would sit in 15 minutes, and that was all I could deal with. There it was like you wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. I had to clean the temple, you know.
I used to do the same thing.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They gave me a broom. I was sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, here's a broom. Make sure you clean all these temple. Make sure you do dishes and all these things. And at first it was shocking. Kind of, it hit me one day. I was like, just a few days ago, I was an executive at a huge firm in LA, driving an Audi and living in a loft. How did I get here? What am I doing? How am I sleeping on the floor and cleaning temples in South Korea? What happened, But I knew that's where I needed to be, and that's what I needed to do. So he taught me a lot. Sitting with monks in silence, in meditation, taught me a lot without them saying anything. So they were my teachers. So not just the ones in South Korea, but the ones I met along the way in Cambodia, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Bali, in Thailand. In Thailand, I had a very interesting encounter with a monk where he asked me, he said, where do you come from? I said, from the United States. And then he was teaching me walking meditation. And he's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, by the time I got to Thailand, I started to speak a little bit. And I was like, I'm trying to learn your ways. And he's like, there's nothing for me to teach you. It's all inside of you. Go home. What are you doing here? And it's the first time that I had that realization, which is what you're saying, of like, it's inside of you. But I wasn't ready for it, because when you have all these voices inside of you, you don't trust yourself. So you don't know, like, is this my inner voice, or is this like, well, there are too many voices speaking at the same time. So it's really hard to make that distinction. So it's the first time I encountered that it's all inside of you. Anyway, after that, I went to Nepal. I hang out in Pokhara for a while. I hang out with some monks there, with some amazing teachers. And then I went back to Morocco. My dad is very wise. My mom's also very wise, but my dad is super, super wise. So I would say that my dad's been my first teacher.
Great.
And I didn't know that. I always rejected what he would say. But then when I realized, when my mind opened up into how amazing of a human being he is and how he has amazing things to say, we got super close, and I started asking him all this question and asking. I used to listen to him in terms of business a lot, but now I listen to him in terms of like him being such a sage and wise man. So I go to him to talk about spirituality as well. So anyway, after that, I learned from Tony Robbins a lot. I did his training program once I decided I wanted to become a coach. I learned from Dr. Salahin a lot. He's in England. I traveled to London, spent a couple of weeks there training with him. He's very, very amazing human being. He lives in Turkey now. I've learned from a lot of people. I've learned a lot from Steve Hardison. Steve Hardison is my current teacher right now. You know, he's my main source of learning new things. So like I was saying, yes, I've learned to listen to my own inner wisdom, and I trust it, and I can hear it clearly now. And I still seek others for their own understanding and for their own advice or for their own way of being. So I feel like they go hand in hand. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So those are some of the few teachers that have had a huge impact on me for this journey. The truth is, everyone I meet has taught me something. That's the truth. Everyone is a mirror, and everyone has something to teach me at all times.
Yes, I learned a lot from a huge number of people. And during those initial days, meditation, I used to meditate close to 3 hours every day, 4 hours every day. And but that was a time when you initially you take meditation as an exercise, but then when you understand that it's not about doing something, it's just about listening, it's just about silence, and listening to that voice which wants to express itself, and that wants to express through you, the life that wants to express through you. There is nothing that you need to do. You just need to let it emerge out of you. But after this experience, Sarah, how did you find balance between the inside and the outside? How did you find coming back into this material world again? How did that blend again happen? I'm
It
sure
was hard.
it's very hard. I know that. It took me years to again come to terms with again the outside life, the material life. And people don't understand what you speak and where you speak from and where you come from. That's very difficult. So I'm curious to know your journey back into the material world.
Yeah, it was really hard. And at the same time, it helped me understand, why monks stay where they are. you know,
So
it's easier.
I would love to listen. What was the reason he gave it? What did he teach?
Well, it's easier spiritual when you're sitting in mountains, right? When you don't have to deal, or you don't have to be in the world as how as we define the world. The material world, the physical world, that part of the world. If you're just with like-minded people, and all, it's not as a criticism, that's their job. That's why they're here, and that's why we go to them. And like someone told me, if 'cause I really struggled with that, and I debated, like, should I just go and be that? Should I also just go and isolate and just do that? I can't deal with this material and paying bills and worried about a job and cars and all these things. It was really loud. And I debated, should I go do that? But someone told me, if you were born to be a monk, you would be a monk already. And
Yes.
I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't feel like I'm called to be a monk. I'm just struggling with my re-entry to the world. And at the same time, sitting in meditation for so long and being in that kind of environment, it was really, really, really tough. Because it's minimum guidance. It's all about sit with it, let it come to you, you'll understand. There is no, monks are very, maybe this because they're so elevated, they're people of few words. uh, the ones I hang out with. I mean, I know some gurus that speak a lot, like Sadhguru is one of my favorite people in the whole planet. I love him because he speaks in very pragmatic, easy English that's easy for the rest of us to understand.
Yes.
Some of these monks that I was hanging out with, I'll be like, huh? What? They say like 3 words or a sentence. I'm like, huh? And they'll just smile, like go sit with it. You'll figure it out. It'll come to you, something like that. And I did that. And yeah, it came to me, but it was really, really, really difficult for me to just sit there and look at those deep things that were hard for me to process. For example, I'll give you an example. In one of these meditations, it came back to me that I was molested as a child. I had no recollection of that prior to that. I didn't know. It was completely gone from my memory, but it came back to me and it was clear and shocking, and I couldn't talk to anybody about it, right? But I wish there was some sort of, comfort or guidance or something that could help me through that very, very, very challenging memory or pain or shadow, whatever you want to call it. So all of this to tell you that my re-entry, I was very grateful for my journey. I learned a lot. I was completely transformed. I debated, should I just go back and just stay there? Then I was like, no, I'm going to stay here. And then I interviewed for a job to go back to market research, and I did get the job, but I couldn't go. So I was in this between place, like the spiritual, the material, and it was hard. So I hired a coach. To help me understand, where do I go from here, And she was amazing. She was French. We had calls. She was in Paris. I was in LA. Went back to LA. We had calls. We worked together for 6 months. It's like, where does Sarah go from here? I was extremely materialistic, and then I went extremely spiritual, and now I don't know what to do with myself, or who am I, or where do I go from here?
But Sarah, let me ask you a question here, because it's very difficult once you, and this is one more thing that I see people going through. When you have personally been into that spiritual journey, it's again, there is a subtle spiritual ego, which also stops you from seeking help from coaches or doctors or professionals. You feel that, come on, I understand what this is, or probably what I'm going through. How did you decide that, okay, I need a coach, and probably this is the coach who can help me? What was that? Was it very easy for you, or was it like, let me try this?
It was easy for me because I am always being someone who's seeking growth, and that's my being. I am seeking expansion, and because that's my being, I always attract the teachers to me, and so that wasn't difficult for me. I started talking about it. I started saying it. I'm very vulnerable that way. Like, I need help.
Excellent.
I need help with this. Does anyone know? And I'll tell anybody and everybody, this is what's going on. And then the more you tell, the more you allow yourself to be vulnerable, the more people are willing to help you. It's all about vulnerability. If you have what you're talking about, that spiritual ego, that righteousness, you get stuck.
Exactly.
And I was never someone like that. I do ask for help. I am, however, someone who's always seeking help from. I try to go to the highest, if that makes sense. Or I try to go to who's really going to help me, because I really want to figure this out. I don't want to, play around, or I don't mind spending the money. Like I said, my priority, my commitment to me in this life is expansion. So all my money goes into this. It doesn't matter how much you charge. If I have it, I'm going to pay you, as long as you help me in my commitment to expansion.
Amazing.
my sister-in-law, Sonia, who lives in Paris, I was talking to her about this, and she told me, why don't you talk to this person? That's how I found Marjorie is her name.
Great.
And so we had this amazing 6 months together, and that's how I realized the gap, and that I want to be a coach. She's the one who helped me with that.
Great. So how did you, now when you coach people, now that you have the inside and the outside of life, you know what happens within a person, what happens what people see on the outside, and what they do not see on the inside. How do you bring a blend of your principles of psychology and your experience of spiritualism or spirituality?
Everyone is different, which is the beauty of it. Some of my clients, I talk to them purely in scientific terms, and that's how they get it. Some of my clients are very spiritual, so I would talk to them in terms of God or the universe or whatever it is they believe in. It really depends on the person in front of me. In the moment, as I hear them, as I listen to them, and I connect to them, God tells me, or source or spirit tells me what I need to say for them to hear the message. Because at the end of the day, it's the same message. How you say it, the terms you use, is up to you, as long as the message goes through. So it's a world of duality, right? What Einstein says and what Sadhguru says and what Steve Hardison says are not very different. It's the same thing. So who I need to reference to help you, I will reference. As long as you see it, as long as you feel that shift, as long as it's not just an intellectual understanding, as long as you feel it here as well. And so it depends also where everyone is in their journey. Are they at the very beginning? Have they done some work already? Do they understand? Like, where do they stand? A lot of this work most of it is about listening.
Yes.
Because it's about the person. It's not about me, it's about the person.
Absolutely agree with you, Sarah. I remember with a client, I didn't do anything. I didn't follow a structure. I was just having a conversation with her, and in just about a few minutes of our conversation, we actually found she actually found the reason she was stuck, and she herself is a professional psychologist, and in just about a few minutes she started crying, and she was like, uh, she was looking at that 8-year-old child who she was when she had some problems with her family and her anger issues with her dad and everything, but she didn't know that she was carrying all that. And I didn't have to follow a structure to coach her. It was just an authentic conversation with her. And uh, you know that that was one of the sessions when I started as a coach, and I found, okay, you don't have to be with the structure, you just have to be with the person. You just have to listen. You just have to make space for them to explore their own selves, and the rest is done. And probably I started understanding the power of the value of presence. And and how did in addition to being with the monk's life, being in their presence today, how do you share this with your clients, or your desire to help them? What all do you do as a practice in your coaching or your trainings and your conversations? What do you follow from within? Is it just listening to them and listening in the moment, or do you have a structure to help your coaches in a certain way?
I don't. I don't have a structure. It's all about conversation, being in conversation. It's who is this person being right now, So that's the first question I ask myself, so that I can talk to whoever they're being right there and then. Um, that that deep presence and that deep listening, from that place, everything emerges.
Exactly.
There, right? You can't have structure, because when you have structure, the structure is outside of it. Meaning, you got to be on time. This is when we're having the sessions. You can't cancel until it's an emergency. You know, that kind of structure. Like the only structure is their commitment to their own expansion.
Absolutely
You know,
fantastic. Yeah.
you gotta pay me before this. You're gonna, you know, this is the structure of how we're gonna work together. Anything after that, in terms of the sessions, it's allowing it to emerge. Whatever needs to emerge will emerge, just from that commitment of expansion from both sides.
Yes.
And every conversation is amazing, and every conversation is different. Um, and there isn't one session where some sort of growth does not happen. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Sarah. Sarah, how has your journey, both spiritual as well as material journey, how long has it been from the day you actually, you had this problem in your throat, and how long has it been since this entire journey?
So it's since 2015.
2015. And if you look back, who you were then, who you are now, and who you are being now, if there is something that you would want to, if there is something that you would want to share, which people are somehow they miss to look at, what would that be in their own journeys?
Share from which perspective?
Share from there. See, if most of us want to change, want to evolve, want to grow, want to transform, but there is something that, there is that one missing link. But then, what if I asked you, like, if today somebody would come to you and ask, Sarah, how would you advise me, suggest for my personal development, my personal transformation? What would you tell them?
Get a coach.
Excellent. And
That's what I would
uh,
say.
and as a coach, you've been helping your clients, and I would want you to share your experience as a coach, that you've been coaching people. What's been your experience, and how have people changed? We would want to listen from you about your coaching experience.
Oh, it's everybody's different. Every client is different. Everyone I meet every day is different. You know, being in conversation with someone, because these are very deep conversations, right? We're not talking about the weather. We're not talking about the beach. We're not talking, right? We're diving deep into someone's being. And to begin with, for someone to want to transform, they really need to want it. You know, I always tell my clients, I am not here to convince you that you need to do the work. When you're convinced that you need to do the work, come find me. From that place, we can work together. And I can understand how it might be hard for people to just wake up one day and be like, oh yeah, let me do some work on myself. That's not how it happened to me, right? Like, I had to go through all of that for me to realize there are some things I had to look at. So I understand when people are reluctant or hesitant to do this kind of work. For a lot of us, we had to be pushed, or nudged by God or the universe or whatever into, like, you really need to do something about this right now. When that happens, and for me, when that happens to people who I'm in conversation with, and some of them, they're just like, I'm just tired of this job. This job's gonna kill me and I really need to leave it. Or I need to do something else. That could be your nudge. It doesn't have to be extreme where you lose your voice for a year, you go through depression, thing like that. It doesn't, it could be, it could be a divorce. It could be you lost your dog. It could be you're unhappy in your relationship. There's so many things. It could be that you have this company and you don't know where to take it from here. There's so many ways. It doesn't have to be really, really bad for you to do this work. So through those conversations that we have, and it's a cleaning that happens, right? You're cleaning your temple. You're removing the things that no longer serve you, or they're not helping you move forward, so that you can make space for new things. So you're cleaning, right? The way I explain it is like when you're in conversation with me, you're cleaning. Imagine you've been living in this body for 30 years, this mind for 30 years. Imagine if you lived in a house for 30 years and you never cleaned it. How would it feel to live there? Not so good. So obviously you don't feel so good right now. So all it takes is a little bit of cleaning. Nothing crazy, nothing bad. So we just look at what needs to be cleaned first. And from there, little by little, we keep on cleaning, and the house looks better all of a sudden. It looks cleaner. We start organizing things better. We make space for new things. Those new things could be a new job, a new relationship, a new house, whatever it is. But you have to clean first. What does Steve call it? If you just add in affirmations, what is it called? Adding frost into a pile of poop, right? That's why you got to clean the poop first before you move forward. So that's how my conversations go.
Sarah, when you speak about relationship, again, I think you shared a post earlier. I think I remember when something is not going right, then it's a relationship problem. Is it? I think you shared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's money or whether it's health or anything, it's about relationship. What's your relationship with money, or what's your relationship with health, or what's your relationship with relationship? But how do people understand? We are, in general, people are trained to look for solutions outside, to look for problems outside, to be able to blame something outside. You have situations outside, you have people outside, you have something that triggers from outside. So it's very difficult for a layman, it's very difficult for a common person to look within and even to accept the fact that it's my relationship with money that's not going right, or it's my relationship with health that's not going right. And not that everybody can hire a coach. So how would you I would want you to speak on this. What is that about your relationship with a certain aspect of life?
The first thing that people need is compassion. So when we're talking about people who are like at the very first stage of this path, who are still externalizing everything, and everything is about circumstances, everything is happening to me, which is kind of like that victim place. Where I start there is with compassion. They don't have the capacity to think otherwise yet. Like you said, they're very programmed. I used to be like that. So I get it. When you tell someone, and I've had this experience too with some coaches, where they would say, imagine I go to someone and I pour my heart out, right? Let's say someone is struggling with their relationship with money, right? And let's say I'm struggling with money and I go to someone and I pour my heart out. I'm broke, I can't deal with it anymore, I can't even make rent, what am I gonna do? Can't pay this for my kids. I tried so many jobs, but no one is paying me. I'm not making enough money still. And if someone comes to you and pours their heart out this way, and you just answer them with, you don't understand how life works, or it's all in your thinking, or it's the power is within you, or you did this to yourself, or one of those things, you're shaming the person.
Yes.
And when you shame the person, shame isolates. One, they're not going to talk to you again. Two, you haven't taught them anything. Three, you didn't even hear them. You didn't hear what they're saying. So there are steps before even beginning to show that it's all within you and it's all in your thinking, and you're not victim, you're an empowered human being, and there's so much you can do. That's something that is realized through few sessions, through some work. So it takes time. At first, it's all about that listening, and I love you, and I got you, and I'm sorry you're going through this. And then showing them in an easy, loving way that, hey, how did you think about this? Or what if we try this? In a very gentle way to nudge them there. So for me, the most important thing is to begin with love, compassion, and understanding. Because otherwise, they're going to feel shamed. They're going to feel stupid. They're going to feel misunderstood. They're going to feel not seen or heard. And they're going to shut down even more. So that's the way I see it.
Sarah, I see, you in the yoga sessions and doing so many things. What all do you do, Sarah?
So I'm a full-time coach is what I do mainly. I also teach yoga. I'm a certified yoga teacher. I used to have a yoga studio, actually. I teach breath work as well. I'm trained in breath work. I don't know, I was going to say, you don't really teach meditation. But I let's say I hold space for meditation. I'm all about, I think it's a combination of things in terms of you need to train the body, right? Yoga is a discipline. So it teaches you about consistency, it teaches you about cleaning your temple. And it's a discipline, right? It's not, like I say, I'm not a master of yoga. You can't master yoga. I have 1,500 hours in teacher training, but it doesn't mean that I understand, like I'm the yogi who knows everything about yoga. Yoga is about a practice. I practice yoga every day. So all these things are actually a practice that I do for myself first. Meditation is something I practice every day. Saying my declarations is something I practice every day. I hear them every day. So all these things that I do besides the coaching, and I also try and like nudge my clients towards that, are things to keep mind, body, and spirit aligned. If you're not healthy, if you don't feel good, it's going to be hard for you to have a good mindset.
Yes.
If you're not, the physical is really important. So
How's been your experience with the declaration since you have been doing that?
it's been intense. Because the declarations, I was never an affirmation kind of person, even though in the yoga world, a lot of people are about affirmations. I was never an affirmation kind of person, because I'm like, why? I'm saying something I don't believe. Like I would say, I am peace. I'm like, I don't feel like peace right now. Why would I say that? It's like something inside me that's telling me, no, you're not.
Yes.
It's creating this conflict. And so I was like, I don't believe in affirmation. Declaration, since I met Steve, made sense. I was like, that's what it is, because
Exactly.
you got to do the work first, right? You got to see what is the belief that you hold in that's not serving you. And from letting that go, what is your declaration? It's kind of like the opposite of that belief, some sort of opposite. And to get there, you got to do that work first. And so as you do the work, layers show up, because you're always doing the work. You're always expanding, right? Like I was saying, like my commitment is to my expansion. It never stops. Steve says it's a mountain with no top. So it's been an intense it's been an intense journey doing declarations because I'm revisiting some things and discovering some new layers. But then it's liberating. And when you say it, like when I say them, I believe them. It's not like I'm making something up, right? Even like if I say right now, if I say like I'm living in peace, for example, or one of them for me is I'm flowing love. When I say I'm flowing love, nothing inside of me says, yeah, right. You're lying. That's not true. Uh, when I don't feel like that and I say I'm flowing love, what I hear actually is, oh yeah, I remember. Instead of, yeah, right. You see the difference?
It's like accepting something that was there hidden within you, and you just made space for it to just appear. It's not about it isn't something like, as you said, affirmation. You aren't imposing something from outside. It's something that naturally expresses itself through you. And I'm having the same experience. And one of my declaration is that I'm a fearless creator. And I love that. I love being a fearless creator. I've been doing that my whole life, and I'm doing that right now, and I'm enjoying doing that. How's your yes, since most of my subscribers and my clients and everybody will watch this, a question for them: how has this influenced your external life? We'll be curious to know, uh, on the outside, what all has changed, and how is it different from 6 years ago or 5 years ago, after this entire journey of yours.
I mean, it's affected everything. Meaning, you know, uh, before, and I love market research and I loved what I was doing it. The intentions were different. And it's that subtle difference that makes a huge difference. Two people can have the same goal, but two different intentions, right? I could be doing the job that I'm doing because I really love money and I want to, buy a yacht. Nothing wrong with that. Or I could be doing this job because my intention is I want to make money and I want to help others. So intentions, the same goal, two different intentions. So for me, the state of being changed my intentions in terms of I'm very intentional with what I do. I'm not just kind of like doing this thing in life blindly. I'm very intentional. My relationships are better. I was saying earlier, my relationship with my father is much better, and it's actually really, really amazing. My relationship with my friends, how I spend my time, and how I do it consciously. I don't just lay there and watch TV for hours, because I feel like I'm not working now and I have free time and that's what I can do. If I want to watch TV, I do it consciously and intentionally. So my relationship with time changed, my relationship with money changed, my relationship with my father changed, with my sister, with uh, my nephews and nieces, with my job and why I do it. So everything in my outside world has been impacted in such a beautiful way, uh, that I am more at peace. I don't live in fear of what if this happened, or what if I lose this. So I now know for sure that if I lose a job, I'll get another one. If I need money, I can make it. If I'm struggling in a relationship, I can make it better. I just need to communicate. Uh, if I'm too busy and that I don't like the way my schedule is, like, I have the power to change how I show up with time. So everything I do, like in terms of my food, in terms of everything, is impacted. I slow down a lot. And I'm constantly checking in. How does this feel? And something really important for me was, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I'm worried about how they're going to think, or I'm trying to impress them, or am I doing this because I want to do it? Because we live a lot in, how would they think of me if I say this or do that, and all those things. And I've learned to not really care. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is what makes me happy. And I'm going to do it. There are no norms. There is no supposed to be. Things are supposed to be this way. You're a girl or you're a woman. You're supposed to do this or be this. You're from Morocco. You're supposed to do this. You live in the States. You're supposed to do this. You're with this group of people. You're supposed to act this way. The whole supposed dropped from my language, and that's peaceful.
That's beautiful, Sarah. And language is such an important thing. I've been consciously making efforts to evolve for over 20 years, but then it's just about a few years ago that I realized the power of language, and that's so powerful. And since I've been using my words, my thoughts carefully, only to create constructively generative language, I found a lot has changed. As you said, there is a lot that changed about the relationship with my kids, with my parents. I'm a single parent and have two little kids. With my father, I just lost my mom. But then I have been experiencing this, the way you relate with them, and all that all that personal development stuff kind of evaporated, disappeared. It's like nothing. You just be who you are, and you don't need that. And the more you listen to that authentic voice, that is the biggest, that's the greatest teacher inside. The more you listen to it, there is a teacher within, and the teacher wants to guide you, and the teacher wants to direct you, the teacher wants to lead you. And that probably has made a lot of impact. Whether it's my job, whether it's my coaching profession, whether it's my life, with the moments that you spend with your kids, they have become so love filled. You are there, you are present, you are available, and you in fact become that space. You just become that space for them to just merge with you. And that's so expansive, that feels so vibrant, so lively, that in a moment you get an insight, and that insight transforms you from within. And you don't have to consciously think about it, you don't have to strategize about it, you don't have to plan for it. You just have to allow it to happen. And most probably, I found that with this journey within, it's all about allowing that transformation to happen, allowing for that process. You just become that conduit, you just become that hose, of creation, and nullifying that shallow ego. That's probably that's the only thing that's stopping us from doing it. These magnificent things that we are doing today. I before we end this talk with you, show with you, on a lighter note, how does your day go? What's your daily routine? What all is put inside the basket of your day?
My day always starts, I'm about discipline, right? So discipline is part of life. We need discipline, right? We need a structure within which to play. So my morning, as soon as I open my eyes, I meditate. That's the first thing I do. So I'll meditate for, I would say 15, 20 minutes. I would then press play and hear my declarations, which are about 6 minutes. I make my bed, do my things, and then make breakfast. And then I'll head to the park. I'll take my little baby. This is Leo. Hi, Leo.
Hi,
Hi.
Leo. Awesome.
So Leo and I go to the park where I do yoga while he's playing around. And from there, I come back and I start my calls. So I typically take 3 sessions, 3 clients a day. I try not to do more than 3 clients a day. And in between, I will hear my declarations again, or I would read the book, The Ultimate Coach, or I will listen to something on YouTube, like either Byron Katie or, someone, because I'm always trying to, I can only allow and help others to expand through my own expansion. So I'm always doing some sort of work for myself. And try to socialize as much as I can with friends, with people at night. And that's about it. But my routine is mainly those 3 things that I always stick to, which is, or 4 things: meditation, declaration, yoga. I go to the gym about 4 or 5 times a week. And then I always spend at least an hour either reading a book or listening to a YouTube video or an audiobook.
Well, that was a very, very powerful conversation with you, Sarah. We loved learning about your past. We loved learning about who you're being today. We loved learning about everything that goes into your basket of a day. And that was super, super magnificent conversation with you. I'm pretty sure we are going to have many such conversations in future as well. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on this show, Moments with Masters. And I am super excited to have you as my friend. And really, I'm sure we are going to have a great journey together in future as well, in the journey of being more and more, or who we truly are, and how we spread the message of this authenticity to everyone around. I am very sure you are being what you have declared and what you are declaring through your declarations. Love this conversation, Sarah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for all the wisdom, insights, and all the experiences and vulnerability that you shared with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I learned a lot from you as well. Thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much. And for all people from India and everybody who would want to talk to you, who would want to visit your website, we will be giving the link in the description of this video, and as well as all the messages that we'll be spreading. And I think it's as a message to all my friends and my circles and from across the world. Anything that you would want to share?
Spread love, be love, and whatever these thoughts or ideas or strong beliefs that the ego is giving you evidence for, trust me, they're not true. You are allow, like what you were saying earlier, allow this energy force inside of you to come out, because it can only serve you. And I know it's hard because there's a lot of evidence from the ego, but trust me, whatever wants to come out needs to come out, because that's why you're here. So just allow it.
Great, Sarah. Thank you so much. And Sarra Adnani is a great friend, a dear friend, and a very powerful coach. If you would want to hire her as a coach, please do visit her website, sarraadnani.com, and you probably will have the most transformative journey of your life. Love you, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you
you
so much for being with us, Sarah.
Bye-bye.